Meaningful content dies with silent views. Your subscription, like, comment, and share help the video reach more people.
At a time when Trump seeks to bring new parts to America, a Greenland costume or a Canada costume or others, you find some U.S. states seeking to break away from the parent entity. We saw the last of these attempts on 1/27/2025 AD. This means that very few days after Trump's state, California tried to secede from America. The attempt by California is not the first attempt in the history of the state, and it is not the first attempt in the history of the United States. In general, states other than the state of California, California itself tried Apple to separate. Its last attempts were 2017, 2019, 2021, and other states. The most famous of these attempts, Texas too. A very strong state with great potential like California. I also tried to break up in more than a year 2005. It tried to separate in 2016, 2022, and has a final attempt in 2024 to separate from the parent entity, America. And in other states, it attempted this separation in. In the year 2000, 15 states once tried to secede from America, meaning about 10 years ago or after 10 years, including New York, how many New Jersey, North Carolina, and Louisiana. New Hampshire, New Mexico, you mean? 15 states tried to separate in 2012, and this issue did not work. Rather, the indigenous people in Hawaii and Alaska, who are the natives of the country, submitted a request to the United Nations in 2015 that they would separate from America. But what is the issue as well? I won't walk. This recent California attempt gained special momentum. It received more media attention than previous attempts. Why is this topic? This is the first time it's taken legal form, or a quasi-legal form of submitting a request. They are advocates of separation from the people of California who want to separate, submitted a request to the authorities in California, and the authorities in California and killed them on this request or a green roll. They are walking on the issue, and thus they have an official statement at the university with the necessary signatures for separation. They are required to gather from now until July 2000. 25 means within 6 or 7 months. Next, they collect 5% of the votes of voters in California by approving separation, meaning more than 500,000 votes, about 524,000 votes. If they know how to do this, their status remains official. If they succeed in obtaining 5% of the signatures of voters in California before July 2025, they will hold a referendum in California in 2028. This public referendum involves all California voters considering the majority. At that time, California will leave America and remain an independent country. This remains the first thing. The first thing is momentum. This attempt is the first legal attempt in the history of separations required from states different from the United States of America. The second very dangerous need is that California's capabilities allow her to separate. If California became an independent state, that would be very, very normal and very universally accepted. The state's capabilities exceed the capabilities of most countries in the world, not most states in America. Most countries of the world, first in terms of area, California is the third state in America in terms of area after Alaska, and its area with 400,000 kilometers means exactly 424,000 square kilometers, larger than major countries in the world, larger than Japan, larger than Germany, larger than Britain. Does it mean a country, and will it remain a big country? Violin by population is the most populous state in America, and number one in America by population, 39,000, and just over 40,000 Dasemes, about 11. 1 to 2% of America's population alone cast their votes in the Electoral College. That's why it has the highest 54 votes in the Electoral College in America. And at the same time, its economy, very, very strange, California's economy for the 5th unit. Globally, Not at the American level, at the world level. I mean, when you compare it to countries, you find that it is number 5 after America, China, Germany, and Japan. The 4 before it, and after that, its economy comes to number 5, producing $3.4 trillion in 1 year. Of course, this is a huge number. The countries that transmit $1 trillion in the world are very, very limited. The 5th country or 5th economy in the world, and it is not yet. It is not a country. Of course, it has a very, very diverse economy, mainly based on industry and the technology industry in particular. And most of the largest technology companies in the world are based in California specifically, not just in America, in California specifically, such as, for example, Apple, Google, or Facebook, or Tesla. All of their main centers are located in California. It has 2 of the largest cities in the world, San Francisco and Los Angeles, and it has ports of the largest ports in the world. Like Los Angeles and Long Beach, the largest ports in the entire world, and it has a very, very huge media influence because it has Hollywood. Hollywood has an influence on, the world very directly through the films you produce and reaching out to the culture and changing the thinking of the entire world through this huge media channel that exists in the greatest industry of the film industry that exists in this place. The first thing remains that there is a legal form for attempting secession. The second thing is that California secedes. Its capabilities are very terrible and do not allow the formation of a state naturally. The third thing is that there is a major split in America these days between the Democrats and the Republicans, and the split is increasing. Trump destroys one's priorities, and the split is increasing in America. And in the demonstrations that took place on 1/6/2021 AD, I was the bearer of the Capitol. In the practices of the American police, which have many objections from people, and people have been killed in these practices, and in the Democrats' attempt to impeach Trump once and twice, and the third time is working. In attempts to split American society, and therefore in light of this split that exists between Democrats and Republicans, it is possible that America will separate from California, will separate from America. It is always with the Democrats. Its ruler is a Democrat, and now the ruler is saying that he wants a national state and he is a Democrat, and its votes always go to the Democrats in the 2000 elections. The Trump Republicans are now ruling the Republican Party, and Republicans have a majority in Congress, and therefore they remain willing to go out by land federal rule at this time. And the fourth and final need that gives momentum to this attempt is if there is COVID. The corona crisis that occurred in the past period, I tried to do California in conjunction with Washington, but not Washington, D.C., not Washington, which exists in the West. They are working as a connected and federal entity, and the Western states, California, Oregon, and Washington, and they are working together. Some specific policy to resist corona. Feeling burdened by federal and general government constraints and losing out because of this, California wanted to form a private union. All these signs say that it is possible to try California. This remains one of the attempts that all successes. The American Constitution does not prevent separation. No specific text prevents separation, but the legal complexities in the way of separation remain very, very large. And there is also a ruling that was the ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States in the year 1869 that the separation of Texas from the United States of America is not permissible. They take this ruling as an excuse because it is a precedent in American law that prohibits any state. They return to this ruling that no state can separate, that is, from America, and therefore in. In impediments to this work, the United Nations must also agree to accept California as an independent state, and then it must operate its own systems. This is also very complex: financial systems, economic systems, political systems, and military systems. This is very important. If it is defense systems, it will also remain. It needs that it comes out of America in a certain way. It may be difficult. The federal system has some powers for each state, and therefore what California can achieve will not be very strong if it secedes, and therefore also you will not find all the people in California enthusiastic about secession, but it is an attempt within attempts The very, very important question that may come to mind is anyone who has an American passport and belongs to America, which is number one in the world politically, number one in the world militarily, number one in the world economically, number one in the world scientifically, and number one in the world. So on a recreational level, why is he leaving? All of this belongs to California, which, no matter how big it is, after separating from America, will not have confidence in the world. America will not remain number one in the world, nor its military power, nor its nuclear weapons, nope. It will not remain like America, the veto, or all these stories. Let one leave this passport, turn to separation, and create a small entity named after him. California, no matter how big it is, will also remain much, much smaller than America. Some countries are separating for reasons, for example, ethnic reasons, historical reasons, racial reasons, but this does not exist to California. The only answer to this topic is well-being. If I want to live at a better standard of life, I mean, the country that achieves the highest level of well-being, it is not the greatest country in the world or the largest in the world, the highest levels of well-being in the world. Finland is number one behind it, Denmark is 3, Iceland is 4, Sweden, which is the Scandinavian countries, these are the highest levels, and what are countries that are not weighty? Opinion, politics, military, or something like that in the world, but it has a lot of money and a few people. Now people live in an atmosphere better in terms of minimum life, meaning in terms of health propaganda, in terms of food and drink, in terms of the house he sits in terms of trips he does, entertainment he does. This is what he achieves. If you want to achieve $1,000, there are countries where you can achieve. This number is what America lives from. Number one in this matter, Switzerland. Number 2, Singapore. Number 3, Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a very, very small country, but its economic potential is high because its people are very small and its trade potential is there. Great, if one of the people of California thinks on this level. He tells you, I swear to God, my state's capabilities are very, very great and they are overwhelming. American society, he takes the rest of the poor states from me, Very large numbers from what? Of the money that I produce in California, in states like Alabama or Mississippi, poor states with weak production, or North Dakota or Montana, which do not have high economic potential, and therefore I distribute the good that comes to me in California. Globally, California has the world's most fertile valley. Agriculture is ending at all agricultural, industrial, and scientific levels, meaning at a very high level. He tells you, no, by God, let me be a small country, and I have no name in the world, and I have no confidence in the world, but I have a lot of money, and I live a good life. I tell them, of course, this is all talk of mental or intellectually sound or correct hazards. Your belonging to a strong entity with pride, strength, and opinion may have a much greater impact on the psychological state than the impact that money or property makes, or the shortcomings or loss that you may be a queen of. But not all people think in this way. Perhaps it is an opportunity for Muslims, when they ponder such events, to know the value of unity and the value of America number one, because there are 50 states in some united with each other, and Muslim countries, thank God. Many, and the number of Muslims is large, but they are scattered. Although the demand for unity is a legitimate demand. Not only do you have strength in this world and pride in this world, but you also have a very great reward in the afterlife.